Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills for you to level up your way with words and become much more articulate. In today's episode, we're entering the world of emotional intelligence, and we're going to be talking about how to overcome limiting beliefs. I would say I was 16 or 17 at the time, and I was waiting in front of school. I was waiting for my dad to pick me up from school. It was like any other day. And as I'm waiting, suddenly, I began to hear a girl crying. The girl crying is pretty far away, but I can notice the crying getting louder and louder and louder, which indicated that she was getting closer and closer and closer to me. Eventually, the cry got so loud that this girl was visible to me. I could see her. It was my cousin. She was hysterically freaking out. I asked her, hey, what happened? And that's when she tells me exactly what happened. She was walking by the park, and as she was waiting to go across the road, what happened was that there was this motorcycle driver who was not wearing a helmet, who was driving, and suddenly lost control over the motorcycle, flung over the motorcycle, and smashed his head on the ground. His head apparently exploded, and my cousin saw the entire thing. She was freaking out. She was explaining this in so much detail, and I'm one of the guys that I don't like blood. I don't like gory stuff, and I'm getting really squeamish, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, a motorcycle death right in front of you? I didn't know it at the time, but roughly around that age, I was going to have a phobia in regards to motorcycles. For the next couple of years, there were plenty of individuals that were like, you drive a car? Dude, you could save so much more money if you would just buy a motorcycle. And I would immediately be like, I'm not the kind of guy that drives motorcycles. And they would look back at me pretty shocked. They're like, well, did you even try it? And I'm like, no, I'm not one of those guys that can drive motorcycles. And they're like, dude, if you give me a chance, I could teach you within just 1 week. It's not as difficult as you think. And once again, I said, look, I'm not the kind of guy that drives motorcycles. Looking back at it, I realized that that's a limiting belief. Me and my phobia in regards to motorcycles, it's a very irrational fear. It's not something that was ever born through direct experience. It was something that was born from someone else's experience. Yet, it is a limiting belief that I possess. Now you may be thinking, okay, what are you going to do about it? And I will tell you, absolutely nothing. Because here's what I noticed. Every human being has a certain level of limiting beliefs, whether they're consciously aware of it or not. Now, spotting the limiting belief is very difficult, but what becomes even more difficult is to ask the question, well, what exactly is this limiting belief limiting? Because if I were to go back to the motorcycle example, and I'm like, okay, I'm one of the rare few people that were capable of spotting a limiting belief, where many people are completely unaware of it. I spotted it. Now I need to ask the question, well, what exactly is it limiting? And if I'm being honest, I could be like, okay, well, I mean, I guess there's a certain freedom to driving a motorcycle with the wind blowing in your face. I'm sure that trying out these different motorcycle models, there must be some sort of thrill to it. I'm sure riding a motorcycle will save a lot in money. That's what I am missing out on. That's what's being limited. But for me, is that really a big deal? No, I'm perfectly fine driving a car and feeling safe in the process. Now imagine that I switch this scenario just a little bit. Imagine that I say, I am not a speaker. That is my limiting belief. Let's say when I was a little kid, I was trying to give a speech and my classmates made fun of me. And ever since that moment, it made such a dent on me that to this day, whenever someone's like, hey, you should come join me at Toastmasters, and I'm like, no, I'm not a speaker. They're like, hey, you have a lot of great specific knowledge. You should start a YouTube channel. And I'm like, no, I'm not a speaker. In this scenario, what is being limited? I would say public speaking opportunities, content creation opportunities, the ability for me to spread my ideas and potentially build wealth. These are limitations that are highly important to me, where the motorcycle limitations aren't that important to me. So in order for us to overcome limiting beliefs, we need to first acknowledge that everyone has limiting beliefs. There's certain stigmas associated with it where some people get really prideful. They're like, well, I mean, yeah, I have limiting beliefs, but I don't want to admit it. Admit it, because it's not always that bad. I proudly go up to people and I'm like, I'm not a motorcycle guy. It's a brand in some ways, but a strange kind of brand. But this sort of branding is good because it removes the negative stigma in regards to the limiting beliefs. And from there, it's a matter of asking the question, what exactly is it limiting? Then answering that question. And once we answer that question, we'll be given certain answers where it's like, all right, these limitations are not that big of a deal, or whoa, these limitations are a very big deal. In the latter situation, if the limitations are a big deal, then it's imperative that we work on them. We go to the Toastmasters, we potentially start a YouTube channel, and we do some form of speaking in context to our lives. So limiting beliefs are just a part of reality, but it only takes incremental progress to change your narrative for the good. If you enjoyed today's episode and you want to learn more about emotional intelligence and how to change your narrative, be sure to check out my book, Built for More, 101 short stories, essays, and insights to improve your communication skills. Within this book, I drop a lot of practical stories on a variety of different topics, and more importantly, I extract a lesson from that story that will help you build your emotional resilience, your public speaking skills, your creative writing skills, and much more. Check out Built for More in the links in the description box, the pinned comment, or go on Amazon and grab your copy today. Thank you very much for joining the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel, and I will catch you next time.